Awesome. Thank you guys for being here in person. I know it's December and it's starting to get into holiday season. We have this meeting and then we have one more next week. And then that is it for the year of meetings. So that's kind of exciting. So thanks for showing up today here in person and on Zoom. We have Tony Kelly with us as our special guest today. But let's talk about what's going on this week. Cole. Tomorrow we have a CE class. This is our last CE class of the year, right? Sponsored by Environmental Works, and there were some changes in the past year on Oregon for oil tank disclosures and things that you have to make sure you disclose to clients and your clients disclose. So there are some updates. If you do not know about those, you should take this class. We actually offered it earlier in the spring, and it was such good information that we were like, whoa, a lot of our agents need this information. So go ahead and register there just for CE credit and for lunch, but it's information that you need to know about oil tanks. And even if they're decommissioned. And then on Thursday, Joe is teaching the forms update. Joe, tell us about that.
My gift to you.
Oh.
I think do we have a couple slides there, Cole? Yeah, let me give you a little teaser of some of the things we're going to do. So again, all the forms will be uploaded into the platforms effective now January 2nd, not the 1st. I do understand that the new residential sale agreement was accidentally uploaded prematurely into SkySlope, and it's been up there for about a week. So no harm, no foul. They took it down. There was only really one major addition to that, and I'll show that on a little teaser I've got coming up. So again, coming up Thursday of the 12th from 11 to 12, we can go over a little bit if we have additional questions and concerns about some of those forms. So 3 little teaser forms to kind of tantalize some of the changes coming up. Buyer representation agreement, early termination. No timelines, no deadlines. As soon as you sign it, it's immediately into effect. So no 2-day, 3-day waiting period on the termination. This will work on both the exclusive and non-exclusive buyer's representation agreements. There's some caveats in there in regards to things that you have to continue to honor as you move past that document, confidentiality, things of that nature. So that's a nice short form if you need to get out ASAP, okay? Next one, here's a brand new form, the contingency removal addendum. This is an addendum that lists pretty much every contingency you're going to be facing in a transaction, okay? And whoever is the benefiting party would generate this form to remove that contingency. It does have a number on the top header, which means there could be multiple uses, multiple versions of this in a transaction. So use this. It's not a mandatory document, but use this as a clean way to keep your contingency focus and steps in queue with the other party and the other side of the transaction. So, and then third, and this is a great one. So 048, the seller contribution form is no longer. That verbiage is now going to be inserted into the sale agreement. And this will be in all sale agreements, land, farm, condo, things of that nature. They've cleaned up, tightened up the language. So it's in section 4, a new section. Your seller contributions now will be in its proper place, its proper home in the sale agreement. Awesome. But if there are additional changes to compensation after the contract has been executed, you will need to use 048 to make those adjustments. If there was seller contribution to buyer's agent's commission or concession to the seller or to the buyer, closing costs, things of that nature. If those are changes outside of the originally executed contract, you will use 048 again. Okay? So that's just 3 of the big ones that are coming, a few more that we'll share on Thursday, and appreciate everybody's time and look forward to seeing you.
Cool. And we are that on Thursday. We would love you to come in person, but I think there's going to be a Zoom option for that as well. Because
I'll be on Zoom.
No, you have to show up.
Oh, that's right.
But speaking of showing up on Thursday, Robbie will be in town this week. Our awesome MCA who pays all of your guys' commissions. So she's flying in tomorrow. She'll be working in the office all day Thursday and Friday, and then at the holiday party on Friday. But so if you have any commission questions, if you want to set up like time to meet with her and just ask her anything, if you don't fully understand your DA that you get emailed every time you get commission, you should understand every line on that and how your money is broken down. So if there's anything you don't understand, or if you have any questions money related, Robbie will be here in person all day Thursday. So that's exciting. Also, before we continue on, I want to do a call out. We had our regional ALC clinic last week, where all the new ALCs from all of the different market centers in Oregon got together. I think there was like 10 or 12 different Keller Williams locations all together. And we had our agents that are going to be on our agent leadership council for 2025 there, just kind of strategizing, getting to know what the ALC was. So I just want to say that I'm very excited about our 2025 ALC. There's going to be a lot more to come on that. But thank you to a lot of you guys in the room. Will you stand up if you're on our ALC for 2025?
All right.
Yay! No, we have an awesome group. And again, just as a reminder, this is if you're in the top 20% of our agents, you get invited to be on the ALC and to serve as the leader of our business. And it's who we trust as our board of directors. You guys are our eyes and ears out there selling real estate. So anyway, that was just really cool. I'm excited to have such a great ALC. And thank you guys for giving up your time last week. 4 days away, 3 days away till our Christmas party. So holiday party, Hanukkah party, all the holidays. At Oregon Golf Club, 6:30 to 10:30. There'll be heavy appetizers. We have a hot cocoa station and desserts, all kinds of fun holiday drinks, 3 big raffle baskets, a photo booth. We had requests for dance floor. So we have a live DJ and a dance floor, DJ Takumi. And we're wrapping up our 20th anniversary. So we're going to do a champagne toast. So prepare some good words, Tony, because you are the only original. You're the only one that has 2004 on their as their start year.
Yes, my badge number is
yes.
the lowest remaining badge number.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. It was cool. Saw Tony's wife recently. She was telling us some stories of starting out the brokerage. So it's really cool to have that history.
We were literally, I think there were 4 of us when we opened the doors. We were in here. It was the day before, and we were building desk and putting together furniture and literally praying that agents will actually join us.
That's so cool to hear.
It was pretty wild.
Yeah. So 20 years later.
20 years later.
Here we are.
Yeah.
So we're excited to celebrate that with you. Pretty much, right?
Well, after we stop the flow of people leaving, then yes.
Yes. Yes, Peter, when did you come on as an owner? 05, Dwight 07, right? 13. I don't know why I thought 13. All right. That's pretty cool. 2023. I know.
Yeah.
Thanks for showing up. Thank you.
We did. We recruited Peter pretty hard, though. We knew once we got Peter here, then we would actually have legitimacy. No joke. That was part of the plan. So.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. So Peter, prepare your words too, right? So we are excited though. We're going to have a great holiday party. I think we have 140 RSVPs. So it's going to be a great time. You are not there, you're going to be missing out. So it is a fun time just to get together and celebrate the year together. And you can bring your significant other if you like as well. A couple people have asked, holiday attire. Whatever that means to you. Ugly sweater, elf suit,
I think I'm wearing an ugly sweater.
Red sparkly dress, whatever that means to you. Okay, and then the only thing we have really next week, other than we have our weekly business meeting next week, and then we just have one last thing before we kind of go to the holidays, is we have our vision board making happy hour. So that is going to be on Wednesday, December 18th, 2 to 5. All you have to do is show up. We have all the materials, the boards, all kinds of good cutouts, happy hour stuff. Even if you don't want to make one, just come by and have happy hour. And if you want to use AI to make one, right? Make an easy one. But it'll be fun. It's always a good time to put your vision out there. For those of you that have come the last couple of years, it's kind of fun to look at how your vision board has changed and evolved, and to look at what you've accomplished. I was talking to Julie, calling you out right now. You were saying that you accomplished almost everything on your vision board from last year.
Every single thing from last year is done.
That's
My
amazing.
vision board I did last year. Yep.
That's awesome. You got to put some bigger things on there for the next year, right? Bigger yachts, bigger whatever you got. So anyways, all you have to do is show up, but that is a fun thing to do. And then, oh, Cameron just stepped out, but Cameron organized a blood drive sponsored by KW Commercial at the beginning of January. It's that first week back. So we just want to throw this out there. And then there are certain spots for appointments for that. So scan that barcode if you want to donate blood. There is a nationwide blood shortage in the US. They need more blood than they have. So it's in this office, 9 to 3. I think they set up a whole thing, but you have a specific spot for your time. So I think if you scan, I don't know if it's on that link, if there was. Okay, cool. And you might, that link might take you and it might show you the eligibility requirements, but yeah, maybe post that with when we post this. But yeah, thank you to Cameron and the KW Commercial team for setting that up. Okay, a couple other things coming up. So this is a little bit far out, but we want to make sure you guys save the date. At the end of January, our annual economic forecast with Pat Stone and Noah Blanton. This is Tuesday, January 28th from 10 to noon. So in place of this meeting, but it will go for 2 hours. We'll bring in breakfast. Please register for that because we fill the room for this one. So space, it will be limited to like the first 60 people.
I think last year didn't they say the market would grow 4 or 5% in appreciation? That's what I remember, and
Yeah.
I was doubtful. And I'll bet you we're probably close to that in like Oswego Westland. In our
Yeah.
territory, we're probably close to that.
Pat is pretty accurate. He's got
Yeah.
a weird crystal ball.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've said this before. He's the most accurate of any economist that I've heard. And over my career, I went to the home builders and all kinds of different people, and he is just eerily accurate. And I've questioned him, every year he comes in, what about the war in Ukraine? What about this? What about that? And he's like, yeah, it won't bother the United States. So last year, I'm pretty sure, do you remember, Peter? I'm pretty sure he predicted 4 or 5% increase in our area. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so save the date for that, even though it's far
Yeah. Yeah.
out. Yes, and we're thankful for the connection to be able to get Pat Stone here. Even one of the guests that came last year was like, wow, this is great. Normally to go see Pat Stone, you have to pay.
Okay.
So it was great to have that. Okay, Azure, Ty and Kylie for Home Front Friends.
I remember last time.
Yes.
Use the mic.
Use the mic for our Zoom friends. Yes.
Hey guys, just want to give you a quick market update. Rates started getting a little bit better on Friday. On an FHA loan for less than 1%, depending on credit score, down payment, all those things, you guys should be able to get people into the 5s. So that's super exciting. If you have any specific questions or scenarios, definitely reach out to us. Don't forget, you have appraisal coupons for $500 off appraisal as long as we're getting them pre-approved before the end of the year. So anybody that's on the fence that's going to do something in spring, let's get that pre-approval underway. That way that coupon's good for all of next year while they're shopping. So I think that's the big update for us today.
Cool. Thank you so much. Yep. Any other questions? Remember to reach out to them. Okay. That's it for announcements. Let's talk to you, Tony. Our outgoing
Yes.
PMAR president. So you're officially done.
I'm
with your
officially, as of last week, I am done.
And then, yeah, filling in, if you know, is Lindsay Culver.
Yep.
She's over at PPG. She's a great agent. She'll be she's the new president. But you couldn't just sit back and just relax, could you? Right? No. So now you are, for 2025, you are president-elect of Oregon Realtors.
Yes.
So you'll be president in 2026.
So I'll be president of the state in 2026.
Can you tell us more about that? Why did you want to do that? What does that mean?
Why did I want to do it? I don't know. I think it's part of like the overall journey when I first started in this whole governance journey of really just kind of paying it forward. I've been a realtor, had teams and did lots of business, and just decided it was time for me to take a different tactic as far as what I wanted to do personally, as far as like really giving back to the industry and it's kind of paving the way for others. And I realized that the best way to do that was really getting involved at the governance level for the association level. So started off at the local level. I was on the PMAR board of directors and then eventually became president, served for 2 years president there. And then during that time, I also started working very high level at the state level as well on that board of directors. And then I was on the government affairs key committee and was actually slated to take over as chair of the key committee for next year, but then decided to run for president and somehow got elected. So
Somehow.
that's, but it
I
just,
voted for you.
thank you. But it really did start with, it started with a tap on the shoulder. I mean, many of you probably heard the story, but it was Drew Coleman, who at that time, I think he was the president for the state. He had just taken over as president of the state. I was working on my doctorate, and I was taking this one class, and it was really kind of highlighted the disparity as far as like this wealth gap that was created through the lack of generational wealth opportunities from housing that minorities had. And when he tapped me on the shoulder, it was this kind of like this epiphany moment. And I was like, essentially he called, he says, "Hey, Tone, we need you to get involved." He says, "We need people who have actually like sold homes to start working at the governance level versus just people who this is their hobby and they just always are working on these committees and rising up through the ranks, but they don't really understand what's happening in the trenches per se." And when he tapped me on the shoulder, again, like I said, it was kind of serendipitous because it was a moment where it's like, you know what? Something's telling me it is time for me to actually get involved. It's time for me to pay it forward, essentially. So that's how it all started. I mean, I know it sounds kind of, holistic or whatever, but that's literally what happened. It was just a perfect timing moment. So, and since I've been in these capacities, I've been making a very concerted effort of tapping other individuals on the shoulder and getting them involved. I mean, this is one individual right here. So, but that's how you truly make an impact. And I think most people, most realtors, it's very easy for us to just we go about our daily business of selling homes. We work with our clients, we work with our buyers and sellers, but we don't understand that behind the scenes there's this whole mechanism that actually allows us to continue to do that business, from the advocacy space, from the education space. One of the things that I can tell you that I was working, well, there's a couple of things I've been working on in this past year. So on the NAR level, I was asked by the president of NAR last year to serve on a committee called the Culture Transformation Commission. So I was one of the commissioners selected from across the country, and we got together, we had our meetings every month in Chicago, and it was literally looking at reevaluating the entire culture of NAR. If you've been following what's happening in the news over the last couple of years, we needed a culture change, and so they put together this commission. And last month in Boston, we actually reported out on our findings, and they were approved by the full board of directors of NAR. So it wasn't just like a lipstick type of commission to appease a New York Times article. This was truly a working commission, and we are making substantial changes to how people are elected to high positions and what type of accountability they have and what type of review process they have at the highest levels at NAR. So that was one thing that we've been working on there. So when I talk about making a true difference, that's for 1.5 million members nationwide. I had this opportunity to, affect change. So that was a pretty rewarding type of activity. I can also tell you, as we're putting together right now a PAG, our Presidential Advisory Group, that we're going to be actually kicking off next week for the state, and that is reevaluating our structure in Oregon Realtors. I think every structure, every governance structure needs to be reevaluated on an ongoing basis because we have to evolve with what's happening in our current environment. So that's going to be a 2-year commission, and we're going to be looking at like even the committees that we have. What are key committees? What type of operating budget should we have? Who should be on those key committees? What should the governance structure actually look like as far as all the officers who are participating? So it's going to be a truly top-down review that we haven't done in probably 30, 40 years at the Oregon Realtor level. And another thing I've been working on is Commissioner Steve Strode. You all know your real estate association commissioner. He asked me to serve on another committee, and we just wrapped up our work a couple of weeks ago. And so when House Bill 4058, which we all know was approved, that went into place, and that bill is the one that requires us to actually have buyer's agent agreements, right? So I was working on helping craft that legislation that was approved last summer. So we were way ahead of what was happening as far as like the NAR settlement. So we didn't care which way the settlement went. We were putting that particular thing in place. So once that was approved, then the commissioner actually has to now put together the rules that are actually structure that. So your ORA rule. So I actually got to participate on crafting those rules, and we just wrapped that up last month. So that will be going to for approval for the next session, which is going to be in January. So those are the type of things that when I say paying it forward and actually having this opportunity to truly have an imprint on how we do our business, but also making sure that we're properly serving and protecting our buyers and our sellers. I mean, it's not just for us internally, but it truly does apply to the consumers. And at the end of the day, that's our whole objective, right? It's just serving the consumers. So when you get involved, and this is a pitch now to get involved, you have a much bigger impact over like how you do business, how we do business in the future, and how your customers are served. All right, so that was a little infomercial. Didn't mean to do that part.
No, that's good. If anyone wants to learn more information about how to actually like join one of these committees or get involved, what time of year do they do that? Tell them all the process. All of
Yeah, absolutely. So the committee applications, they typically start in the later summer, early fall time period. And then what we do is on the leadership team, we truly get together in a room down in Salem, and we go over everybody's application for each committee, and we determine it's a 2-day process. So, I'm down there for 2 days, and we literally like pick individuals to go to these different committees based on what they want to do as well as what their background, what their experience is. So I would say this, if you apply for a committee and you don't get your first pick, please take that second pick, because once you're in the system essentially, and now the leadership team actually gets to work with you and know you, then the next time you're up for a committee the next year, because for the state level, our committees are just 1-year committees, whereas at the NAR level, so I also serve on the National Association of Realtors Housing Committee, Housing Opportunities Committee. So that's a 2-year committee assignment. But at the state level, then we will give you, if you serve on a committee, you're going to get first preference essentially for the committee of your choice if you want to serve on a key committee the following year. I will say this, you probably don't want to apply for a key committee for your very first time out. So the key committees are the ones where the chairman of those committees actually make up my executive team. So like when I got elected as president-elect, then I got to select who my vice chairs would be. So those vice chairs will be the chairs when I'm actually serving as president, and that makes up my executive team. So that's my leadership team. So those are harder committees to get on. They have a much bigger impact. The Government Affairs Key Committee is an example of that. You have to have some experience in other committees before you roll onto that particular committee. It really helps if you serve on the advocacy committee for your local association. Then sometimes you can even bypass working on any other committee and just go straight to the Government Affairs Key Committee if you've got local association level experience, as well as professional standards. That's another one. If you serve on the local level, sometimes you can get shortcutted to the state level. Depends on our needs. But please apply. If you want any more information about that, just reach out to me. So you have your local association committees as well. So PMAR has their committees as well, and those are incredibly important. I mean, the work that we do at PMAR, I would say probably has an outsized impact because we are, I say we, I guess I'm not president anymore, but PMAR has you're looking at about, almost 8,000 members, right? And the state only has about 17,000 members. So it's almost half of the entire makeup of the entire state. So the impact that you have at PMAR is absolutely huge. So if you do get involved at the PMAR level, then you're going to gain way more experience than a lot of your peers who are serving a much smaller associations would actually get. So I highly encourage you to do that. And our advocacy efforts are amazing at PMAR. So I reported out, we had our annual meeting in August, and then I actually shared some of those statistics at the installation last week. But when you looked at the success rate that we had on the advocacy side for this past election that just took place, we had probably about 80% of the candidates that we supported won. And we supported candidates that were very focused on real estate, property rights, home ownership, creating housing opportunities. So it didn't matter what party they were with. We don't care if they're Republican or Democrat, just like our PAC. It doesn't matter. It's truly the purple party, and it's just about housing. So which candidate is really forwarding our housing elements? So we had an amazing year for that. The other thing that we did at PMAR, we started a coalition. It's for bringing together some of the biggest hitters across the entire city, including like, say, the Chamber of Commerce. We partnered up with them and we started this Portland First Coalition. And that gave us a lot of influence when it came down to candidate selection, or actually candidates coming to us, asking us to support their runs. It's probably the first time in PMAR's history where we truly had candidates seeking our endorsement. That just had never happened before. But because of the efforts on the government affairs side and the advocacy side at that local level, and partnering up and creating this new coalition, we had an outsized influence on the election, a very positive influence on the election.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
So those are some of the things I'm up to right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're selling houses.
That's
And I am selling a few houses every now and then. My wife makes me do that. It's my allowance money, I guess, right now. So
The question was, how's your real estate going?
actually, my real estate is actually doing pretty decent. For the first time in like 5 years, I think I'm, selling a few houses. So
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
I've been asked this several times. I have no comment. So
Okay. Okay, so Tony, what else should we know? Everyone just got their their annual PMAR Oregon Realtors NAR bill. And so it is so interesting how many people don't understand like the scope of a lot of the things you just explained that you guys are working on. But what else should we know about moving forward with any other changes? Or
yeah, I would say this. So the settlement is all done, and the world didn't stop spinning on its axis. Everybody's doing fine, which is, it's like one thing I will say, big takeaway. Stop getting your news and like internalizing it from like Inman and all the sensationalist stuff, or the New York Times. You'll see a New York Times article just came out recently, and I can address some of those things there. It's a total hit piece, not surprising. It's their second one in a row. They did one last month as well. But this one has just a lot of misinformation in it. And I would be more than happy to give you the real stats behind some of the things that they're quoting, which are just straight up false. And we have the numbers to show it. But I will also say we're not completely done with the changes that are going to be taking place. So the next one, and this is just my personal opinion, this is not an official position as your president-elect or anything like that. But I also talked about this, I think when I spoke in like May back here. I said their second shoe that's probably going to drop is going to have to do with RMLS relationships with the local associations. As far as mandatory membership, as with the being a member of your PMAR or your local association, and also being a member of MLSs. And so most states, you have this you can't be a member of the MLS unless you are a realtor, right? That is going to be challenged. I mean, it's already, we got 3 or 4 lawsuits regarding that are out there. Don't know what's going to happen there. I would just say, when you start reading in the news next year for additional, when you hear about lawsuits or something, it's probably going to be regarding that. In addition to that, there's also a lot of pressure on the clear cooperation policy. So the clear cooperation policy, if you're not familiar with that, that is the policy that requires you to actually, if you're going to advertise your listing publicly, you actually have to have it in the MLS system within 1 day. So that's nationwide. That's the the CCP. There are a couple of luxury boutique franchises in California that are challenging that because they want to be able to hold on to these listings and not having them actually, they want to be able to still advertise them, but they don't want to have to put them in MLS because they want to essentially kind of keep these in not even just in office, but in franchise listings. And that's how it used to be before they came up with CCP. So Dwight, Peter, I'm sure you guys remember way before, before CCP, you could literally like monopolize through one brokerage a whole market or whole area of listings. And so the reason the CCP was invented was to actually break that up so that now everybody had access to this. And it didn't matter. It's like, okay, I'm working with this agent, so that means I don't actually get to buy this house. And that's how it actually works in principle. So their argument for these brokerages is that, well, we've got clients who are really concerned about their privacy and the privacy of, what's in their home and things like that. We'll see what happens there. It's kind of a specious argument, and I think it actually has much more of a deleterious effect on the public than a benefit. So anyway, you'll see more information coming out about the clear cooperation policy. So I would say next year, the two things that I would say you don't have to worry about that. These are the things I will be worrying about. The things that, I, in my capacity as your president-elect, and is also working at the national level for the Housing Opportunities Committee, those are the things that are on our radar.
So cool. I love that you're so involved, and I feel grateful that we get to have your firsthand insight. Then if you have any questions for Tony, yes. And wait for the mic. The wireless mics don't have wires, but they don't pick up as far as the other one. So
thank you. Thanks for being here, Tony. Appreciate it. I'm not a bomb thrower. I just sell real estate, right? And I pay attention to what's going on in the world. And to your point, like there's discontent and there's people that are unhappy and they're expressing it through lawsuits and New York Times articles and all this stuff. And I read them and I'm aware of what but then I just sell real estate here. And at some point in time, there's part of me that believes where there's smoke, there's fire. And there is a lot of discontent in the ranks and not understanding where the benefit has been. I heard somebody refer to it as a NAR apology tour, right? The NAR was out at a lot of conventions. NAR was out speakers about the results of the lawsuits. I don't believe that, but that's what I hear. And so what's being done to rebuild trust with agents who feel like they've lost trust and lost faith? Yeah. And I would say, and I hope that does. That's not. No. That's that's not an attack. That's just absolutely no. It's a great question, and it's one that's fair to ask. If you so put it this way: when I was reflecting on this, actually, when anyway, I was also going to mention it during my installation, as far as like the changes that we've been through in our industry. So during my time, I served 2 years as your PMAR president, and during that time, I had 3 different NAR presidents. That's the first time in history. It's like just never happened. We had never had in the over 120-year history NAR, never had a president actually resign. Next thing you know, we had 2 resign in 1 year, like within a couple months of each other. So asking a question like that is absolutely valid because a lot of our members do have questions about that. And when you say when there's smoke, there's fire, I will say this. One of the things that has been really brought to light with these New York Times articles and Wall Street Journal articles is there is a lack of understanding of what the association does at the national level and the state level. I would say, and probably even like the local level, I would say more people probably have a better grasp of what their local level does for them, but a lot of times they don't. The other thing I will say is when I say there is smoke, there's fire. I think the reason people don't understand some of the things that the association does for them is because there has been a lack of transparency. And so one of the things that we worked on to address that, the CTC was actually, the Culture Transformation Commission was a direct product of, we understand that we have something that's broken and we need to fix this right now with drastic actions. I was flying for over 18 months. I'm flying to Chicago on a monthly basis to get together with other commissioners from across the country to work on our culture problem. And you will see very substantive things rolling out in January to address that. The other thing I will say is it's hard because we're all volunteers serving in governance, you don't necessarily, I will say, I didn't know all the stuff that the association did at a local, state, or national level until I actually got involved. And I'm not saying you have to get involved to actually understand this. I will say we have to do a better job of letting our members know exactly what we do for them. Advocacy is the biggest thing. If everything else goes away, advocacy is probably our biggest value proposition, because I testified at the state Senate and state House 7 times last year. And your average member probably has no idea, right? And they don't need to. But I'm testifying there in support of legislation or to counter legislation which would be harmful for our industry and for our consumers. That's what we do. We have paid lobbyists. Your membership dues. We have lobbyists. We have in-house attorneys. And that's their full-time job, is scanning legislation and walking the halls in Salem with our legislators to make sure, they're in their offices every single day when they're in session. They're making sure that our interests as realtors and to protect the consumers are always at the forefront. That's what we do. So what the association does is what you can't do yourself. You can sell houses, you can be a billion-dollar producer, but you don't have the time or the resources to be down in Salem working on legislation. That's what I did, right? So that's what we do for you. And I think we have to do a much better job of communicating that. So that's a great question.
Cool. Thank you, Tony. Any other questions for Tony before we switch gears and get to our next presenter?
I will say just one last thing. So if you're not familiar with Colin Mullane, so Colin is going to be president of NAR in 2028. So he'll be installed as the first vice president next year, and then president-elect the year after that. And then he will be president in 2028. So for Oregon, the size of our association, like I said, we're only about 17,000 members. 17,000 members is a small association in Illinois. In Florida, in Texas, it's a very small association. They have associations with 40, 50,000 members, right? So our little state here in Oregon, I will say, has an outsized influence. We're going to have we're going to have a national president from Oregon. That's the type of influence we've had. You don't get to that level without being a player it's a very long runway. And Colin has been instrumental in a lot of these changes you were talking about. And I bring him up because even though he ran unopposed and he's going to be your president, he has spent 200 days on the road this year traveling to every state and all the different associations to, one, let them know there's going to be a change. This is what we do for you. This is what we're going to continue to do for you. And the culture is changing. And he doesn't have to do that because he's already got the position. So, all right. Thank you.
That's incredible. Thank you. Round of applause for Tony. We always love it when you come. I'm going to ask you more often, but we're going to see you on the dance floor on Friday.
Probably. I'm wearing an ugly Christmas sweater.
Okay. So, that's festive. That works.
I'm not wearing a suit. I'm not going to wear a suit and tie.
We'll see. Okay, we're going to switch gears. We have our friend Rick Gray on Zoom. Hi, Rick. So Rick is a real estate coach out of KW in Boise, and he's also one of the founders of Whoosy AI for real estate. So Rick's going to tell us a little bit about what's going on, what kind of challenges he's seeing agents are facing right now, and some ideas to get around those. Hi, Rick.
Hey,
Thanks for
Corinne.
being here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, it's interesting. I love this time of year because everybody gets to do like a little reflection. How did the year go? What do I want to do more of next year or less of or do better? And I was doing a training the other day with a group of people, and one thing that comes up a lot, especially this time of year, is so I have everybody do a SWOT. If you've been in any of my classes, we talk about doing a SWOT quite regularly. In fact, I do them every week, and on my coaching clients, we do them at least once a month, which is a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities for change, and then threats sort of exercise. So I did this with a brokerage just the other day. It was interesting. We were reflecting on 2024 and we were talking about what our strengths are. And I just got up on a whiteboard, Corinne. I started just listing out, what did you guys do good? And everybody was sharing, I did good at this or that, studying the market, getting market knowledge better, got better at pricing houses, reading more sales books and negotiating. Like there's a whole bunch of different nice strengths. And then we got into the weaknesses, and there were some very similar weaknesses that kept repeating themselves over and over. And one of those was post-close follow-up, like following up with clients after the transaction is closed. And how do we stay relevant? How do we add value? How do we stay top of mind? And I know a lot of agents struggle. It was most of the agents in this brokerage that struggled with that. There was a bunch of different things that came up as potential weaknesses for people, but I said, okay, I started to challenge them a little bit. I said, what are you going to do about that? It's really funny. The first answer, Corinne, the first answer an agent said was, well, I'm just going to make myself do it. Right. How many have done that? Well, I struggle with time blocking, Rick. Well, what are you going to do about that? Well, I guess I need a time block. It's like how many of us say that like for a New Year's resolution or for goal settings? Like, well, I know what I need to do. Now I need to do it. And here's what I said to the group, and I'll say to you as well this morning. Thanks, Tony, by the way. I enjoyed your presentation. It was good. What I said to the group was, that's not going to happen, right? Just because you know you need to do it, you're not doing it already, and you already know you need to do it. So just to say, hey, I'm going to start doing it, Dwight. I'm going to start time blocking. I haven't been good at it, but I'm going to start now. That is just not going to happen. We have to be realistic about this. So I started going around the room. It's like, well, what could we do? And that's where the O in the SWOT is so important. The O is the most important part of it. It's opportunities for small changes. And I love doing this with my coaching clients, getting them thinking, why are they avoiding certain things? Why do they procrastinate certain things? And what could we do? And it's not going to be about, I'm just going to will myself to do it. No, you're not. I've been in business 30 years. I've been a real estate broker for 30 years. I've been a full-time coach now for 9 years. People are not going to will themselves to do things they don't want to do. So you have to have some strategies. So one strategy would be to have a coach. Obviously, I'm a real estate coach, right? Have a coach, have somebody to help you, an accountability partner. Maybe that's somebody in the office that you work with. Has anybody ever had like a workout partner? Right? It's like if you have a workout partner, you probably go to the gym or work out more consistently than you would on your own. And that's what a partner can do. An accountability partner, a coach. One of the other things we came up with as a group was one agent figured this out. He said, Rick, I automate now my post-close follow-up stuff. So have you guys heard of like Client Giant? So I went into Whoosy. I was going to share this real quick. I go into Whoosy all the time to ask it for advice. Hey, how can you help me come up with something? How can you help me figure out something I'm not doing yet? And Whoosy recommended Client Giant. Like, oh, what is that? So it's a company. There's a lot of Whoosy came up with like 7 companies that will offer different types of gifts and either send them out monthly or quarterly, like automatically to clients. And you can pick what they are. They're not branded, or you can have them branded to you, but it's really kind of a neat idea. It's like, yeah, if you're struggling with post-close follow-up, maybe automating it is an answer for you. I know for me, my first thing, Corinne, was leverage. I hired my niece years ago. Years ago, my niece was really young. I said, hey, you need to help me with some of this stuff because I know I need to do it, but I'm not probably going to get it done. So I hired her and really thinking through how can I leverage who's around me without hiring somebody. Right. And now that we have AI with Whoosy, I leverage Whoosy all the time for this kind of thing. So I think that's really important. It's like this time of year, I know what Tony just talked about was the changes that happened, obviously, back in April. We're all still here. One of the things I talk about all the time is the buffalo versus the cow analogy, which, the buffalo and a cow, they take a storm that's coming and they act very differently. The cow will move away from the storm and avoid the conflict. They don't want the conflict, so they move away from it. Well, what that does is it keeps the cow in the storm longer, and they suffer a lot longer, where the buffalo sees a storm coming and they move right into the storm. They head on attack the storm and actually get through to the other side much faster than the cow. And I just love that analogy. I love that analogy for real estate agents. How many agents are leaning in and embracing either difficulty or hard things or changes, and how many are resisting and digging their heels in? And as a real estate coach, I can tell you the agents that I'm seeing out there, the agents that are winning, I have several coaching clients, guys, that this was their best year ever in 2024, which is crazy to me because numbers nationally are down. But Dwight was talking earlier about Lake Oswego, West Lynn. Those areas are probably fairly insulated from what's going on with the national news. You guys had what, a 4 or 5% increase in price. We're kind of like that over here in Boise as well. But as long as I always tell everybody, as long as your goal is underneath the umbrella of what's going to be sold, you can hit your goal. Right? You can have your best year ever, even in a down year nationally. So I think, well, what are those people that are having their best year doing? They're embracing the change. They're learning about Whoosy, for example. They're learning how to use tools to make them better and to make the client experience better. So I think that's when you go through from between now and the end of the year, if you guys haven't yet, everybody on this call and in that class, do a SWOT for yourself. Just take some time to reflect and just list out what went well in 2024. What did you do good? Like, what are your strengths? And then and don't judge yourself, by the way. The really cool thing about a SWOT is there's no judgment to it. Nobody has to see it but you. But just list out all the things that you think you did really good, what you're good at, and then list out all the things you didn't do well or you're not good at or could use improving. And then the most time is spent on the third one. What are my opportunities here for some small incremental changes that I can sustain as I go into 2025? And if you want to, you can do the threats. The threats is, well, what if I don't? If I don't make these changes, what's going to happen? Maybe nothing that bad. That's one of the problems with New Year's resolutions. And one of the problems with business plans is if you don't do them, there's typically no accountability to it. Like nobody's going to come over to my house and beat me up if I don't make my calls, right? So I don't feel like making my calls today. You have to have some sort of built-in accountability for yourself.
Yeah, Rick, and you always talk about the SWOT analysis no matter what time of year, but this time of year, it makes so much sense, right? As we're stopping to reflect back on the year, before, the holidays and the new year. So it's such a good time to, if you haven't done that exercise, to go through and just really think about what did go well and what didn't.
And I do it with my coaching clients. With my coaching clients, the way my brain works is I can't think 12 months at a time. This just doesn't work for me. I have to think in shorter increments. So I like weeks and I like months. So I have a very specific goal every week and a very specific goal every month. And I work on this with my coaching clients as well. And you get to pick your categories. But for me, it's, health, family, and business. And I think through those things every week. I write in my journal. I do like a little SWOT analysis on my relationships, on my business, on whatever it is I'm thinking about. And that really helps me stay focused. Since I've been doing that, Corinne, regularly, and since my coaching clients have been doing that, not only are they more focused, like Jennifer McCullough was on our Whoosy call last week. She said, here's an agent who I've been coaching for 8 years now. But I started coaching her in 2017. She was a $3 to $4 million producer every year. Like 12 years. She's been an agent for 12 years, 3 to 4 million, kind of like clockwork. A good agent, but not a mega for sure, but certainly a producing agent that was doing fine. We started coaching, and our first year she did 6, our second year she did 10. Now every year since, she's done 15 million or more in production. And she'll tell you she works less and takes more vacations than she did when she's doing 3 to 4 million. You say, how does that happen? It's focusing on the right things. And that is one thing a SWOT will help you do. A SWOT will help you figure out, okay, what are the things I should be working on for me? What are the things that are most important? So when I take my coaching clients through these processes, it helps them just really be happier and do more business without having to do the extra work. Because I think a lot of people think, well, if I'm going to go from 3 million to 10 million or 15 million, I'm going to have to triple or quadruple my hours and my efforts. And that is not true. It's doing the right things that makes all the difference.
That's great. Cool. Yeah. What else are you seeing?
Well, I'm seeing right now a lot of people. It depends. It's very regionally specific. Some regions are really slow, and some markets are really slow. Others are really fast and hopping. I mean, we're seeing multiple offers here in Idaho and a lot of places now. I think the places where people migrate to, like COVID, I think started the great migration and people started moving different places. We're one of those states and one of those areas where I live that people are coming to. And so we're just still going crazy. Multiple offers, things are hot. So it's really going to be up to the agents to be really good at what they do. And with more and more automation with AI and people starting to use AI to do things for them, your relationships with your clients are even going to be more important. So I think if you've thought about doing an event or you've thought about, taking clients to lunch, I mean, you haven't done that much of it, start doing that more. Start putting your arms around your database and really connect with them and own them. Otherwise, somebody else is going to come along and start marketing to them.
Yeah. And then what is new with Whoosy? Or for those, there's probably people in the room that aren't really familiar with Whoosy. Maybe you can just give a quick overview of what's new with Whoosy or what's, overview.
Yeah, so a lot of really cool new things with Whoosy. One of the things with Whoosy, when you go into the Spark Pad now, so a Spark Pad, if you've used Chat GPT, it's like where you write your prompt, you ask it a question. So Whoosy has what's called a Spark Pad to spark your ideas. One of the things we have now are like 10 mini GPTs. So a mini GPT is I want to do something specific, like I want to work on my real estate branding, for example, or I want to build my niche and learn how to market to that niche. Well, instead of having to go into the Spark Pad and ask it anything, those are already pre-existing GPTs you can just click on now. So we're taking more and more things that we realize agents are going to want, and we're pre-building them out. Which, I mean, obviously agents can go in there and do that themselves. They can go in the Spark Pad, ask it questions, but we're thinking, okay, if we're a real estate AI company, we should know all the things agents want to do. And then let's pre-build out these GPTs. So you click on one of those things, it starts asking you questions that you then answer, and then it starts to customize a plan for you, which I just love that.
That's pretty cool.
And we're growing a lot. Our community is growing just tremendously. I think we've had 15 annual members join this week. I mean, we're starting to see just people joining and people finding us. I did a demo call yesterday, Corinne, with some people in Connecticut that found us on LinkedIn, like never even heard about us before, saw our site on LinkedIn, went and clicked on some things like, wow, this is interesting. Booked a demo call. I walked them through it for about an hour, and it was like, that's starting to, we've never marketed as Whoosy before. You guys know the only way we've ever grown before is me doing presentations or Eric or Danielle doing presentations. And now we're starting to put a little bit of things out there, and we're getting a lot of results. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. And I think that AI is one of those things, exactly what you said about you can, run away from it, or you can use it to leverage, to have more time to pour into the human touch, right, of your clients. I think.
Yes, that's the biggest misconception, Corinne. I think people worry about AI, but what it's going to do, I think, we're already seeing this. It's going to actually improve human relationships with each other. And it's going to make us be more creative. Certainly speed to information and speed to research is much faster with AI now. But what that does is it puts a premium on your ability to relate and connect with people. And so I think, the more automated and the more perfect all this advertising looks, the more people are going to crave interaction with a real human being.
Wonderful. Rick, we always love seeing you. Next time you're in Portland, come see us in person.
Oh,
Does
absolutely.
anyone have any questions for Rick before we let him off the hook?
And I will say, if anybody wants to, I always stay between about 10 and 20 coaching clients. I'm in that range right now, but I'm looking for a couple more. If anybody wants to start coaching in the new year, send me an email, rick@whoosy.ai, R-I-C-K @whoosy, HUZI.ai. Just send me an email. I'd be happy to chat with you, talk about your business, see what it is that you need help with. And if it's something that we can put together, I'd be happy to work with you.
Wonderful, Rick. We always appreciate you and hope to see you soon.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Happy holiday, Rick.
Yes, happy
Thank
holiday.
you. Thanks, bye.
And yeah, Rick is great. He was a business coach and longtime Keller Williams leader before he even got involved with Whoosy. So we used to have him just present on just his regular business coaching and all kinds of great tools of really working to how you want to lead generate. And then as he became involved as the founder of Whoosy, it just kind of evolved the different things he can teach us about. So I know some of you guys in the room are involved in Whoosy, or I mean, really like any AI or technology, embracing it at that level. Whoosy's, the difference is they're focusing really on being just for real estate agents in the real estate industry. So anyways, Rick's always a great partner of ours, and great to have him here. We had a good meeting today. We had Tony and
Yeah.
it's good stuff. Thank you guys for being here. Come back next week for the last meeting of the year. We have an agent panel. Some great agents are going to tell us about how their holiday events and their fourth quarter events and pop buys turned into actual business and what the results of those were. We'll probably bring
Matt.
including
Free-
Matthew.
Free giveaway.
Yes. And we're going to bring in holiday treats, whatever it takes, right? One more of the year. So have a great week, you guys.
Promise fruitcake, I'll come.
We'll have, and we'll see you all
Gumdrop cake. You mean.
lots this week. CE class, forms update, holiday party. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's always a pleasure.